streaming.
I could even do the balance panel by then.
Oh, yeah.
I got all of October to do something.
I started putting some stuff together for my worker placement panel. I got some...
Did you find out what is the oldest worker placement game? Did you even define what worker placement game is?
So
Can you even answer the questions I already asked before?
I got a few ideas there, but I don't want to define it too strictly. I actually want to take a different tack on the panel and make the point that defining that kind of mechanic too strictly is kind of pointless and, you know, that sort of thing. And then talk more about concrete examples like, here's an example of this K-list. Let's look at like what worked, what didn't, why people say it's the first worker placement game. Probably is. I can't find anything that's earlier than it. It's not, yes, that's worker placement. It's always, that could be construed to be worker placement.
So I'm concerned if there's a list of actions you can take, right? And you take turns choosing which action you're going to take.
Yeah. Well, that's why it comes down to like form matters for these kinds of discussions because...
And the thing is, I think to be worker placement, it doesn't have to be complete blockage like Agricola, but there has to be some competition for the actions, right? A game like Tikal doesn't count, you know, but Puerto Rico I think does.
Okay, so if you want to talk details, what I'm really thinking about doing...
And there's some like we played the stupid wine game, and the wine game there was at least a limit, like only 2 people can do this and 3 people can do that, right? Whereas, say, Tikal, it's like, well, you can just do as much as you want with your points. You know?
Yeah, what I'm thinking more is...
It's an action point game, not a action...
I want to go through, like, a bunch of examples.
The actions have to be a resource that you compete for.
You're getting ahead, though. The way I want to do it is start with Kalis and then go through a bunch of different worker placement games, and between every game, keep updating our definition based on what that game did. And then by the end...
Well, we say, is that game worker placement? If so, why not? If so, we got to adjust our definition to incorporate it. And if not, why not?
Yep. And at the very end, the point will be more like Richard Garfield's points around how, like, definition of word game, like, there's a level of semantics that matter, and there's a level of semantics that's stupid. And I think it'd be a good panel. Mostly it's the information of, like, games and talking about them in detail. All right, stream's good. I think there's some people watching. Yeah, there's people watching.
Sad people here
Let's
again.
just start this. It's Wednesday, August 23rd, 2017. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights Tonight, Ducktales.
Woo!
Do. All right. Save that. Rance is going. Woo! Okay. I got an opening bit, unless you have a better one. There was like subway disaster this morning.
That's not much of an opening bit.
Yeah, that was my morning though. I was dealing with subway disaster.
I knew it was happening before I left, so I went to the post office, and then I got on the subway, and then it was slow, and then I got on a 7.
I bailed on the subway.
I eventually got to Queensboro Plaza. I got on a 7, and then I took the 7 to work. It was fine.
Well, because the end was like the first problem, and then the 7 stopped running.
The end was having big problems. It just eventually got to Queensboro.
Yeah, but the problem was, so the end wasn't working, and then literally the 7 broke down while the end was still down.
When I got on the 7, it was fine.
Yeah,
so.
the 7 was not running for a while because of a fire in Grand Central. And then the E got so crowded that it was dangerous, and there was a crazy situation in Court Square. So I said, fuck it. I just went and had breakfast somewhere, and I went to work like an hour later. Like, I didn't even try.
I got an opening bit.
All right. Go for it. We're good. We're going.
All right. So you know how lately there seems to be this thing going on, especially on Twitch, with these marathons, right? They show, like, all Bob Ross, all Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Crunchyroll did a marathon, like all these animes for a super long time.
Remember RIT Anime? We do the marathons, like, all right,
no,
kids.
but these are marathons like, you know, it's just basically we're going to take this huge amount of content, put it end to end, and just stream it until it's done, right? And that's what they do. And I guess people tune into that because I guess it's sort of like a temporary TV channel that only shows one thing with
I think that there's
ads or no ads depending on your...
And also... There's like one specific thing that kind of thing does. It makes a pop-up community around that thing.
Yep.
Like the internet will talk about that thing. Like suddenly you and all the Seinfeld people are talking about Seinfeld.
So I was thinking, what if we took every Geek Nights episode end to end and just plugged it in and streamed it to like a Twitch channel and a YouTube channel.
I could write a Python script.
We just need to put all the episodes on a drive in a computer, connect that computer, and just start streaming, and there'd be like a still image there while it streams.
Yep.
And it would just go from the first beta episode all the way to the end without stopping, all in one shot.
That could actually be kind of fun.
And see if would anyone give a shit, or would that just sit there or it's like because the thing is, like, I've noticed when you're streaming, it's like the way to get people in the stream is you have to stream long because you get one person and you have to get a few viewers, and then once you have some viewers, your view count goes up, and then you can get more viewers. We have to stay on long enough for that to happen, and I can't play games longer than a few hours.
Well, the part of it is
a
that
lot of times I've stopped streaming when I have the most viewers, like 8 viewers finally, because it's been like 3 hours, guys. Where were you when I started?
Yeah, well, that's partly why I don't do the Twitch. Like, I focus more on the YouTube for a lot of reasons.
I just do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you have the technology
Split
for that.
those views even more.
I don't really care about that. But, so what if we just, like, streamed every Geek Nights episode, the audio, nonstop? Would anyone
What would that be? Let's see.
Would anyone give a shit?
That'd be like 1,200 hours.
It would be ridiculously long.
That would be like 1,200 hours of content.
How many days is that?
1,200 hours divided by 24. That's 50 days.
It didn't take 50 days. So we've done more Geek Nights, even though it's only been less years or whatever. It's like, how many hours does it take to watch all The Simpsons?
Yeah. Well, so
they've been going longer, but they only did once a week.
God, I just remember as a kid watching
and
like
their
the 200th episode special.
Their episodes are only 20 minutes, and they don't do the whole year. They only do a season. It's like, is there actually more hours of Geek Nights than there are most other things?
I mean, I watched almost all of Sailor Moon, like everything but the first season in one weekend.
I mean,
once.
in order to like beat us in hours, you start have to going into things that are like questionable. Like, oh, okay, there have been more hours of all baseball games ever.
Yep.
Right? It's like, yeah.
That channel that's just the guy sitting and meditating all the time. Like, I think there's more hours of that than Geek Nights.
Yeah, but it's like we need,
Actually, no, because he only started that like 4 years ago.
But I wonder, like, is this a thing we should do?
Yeah.
And was it worthwhile, or will it just be a complete waste of bandwidth?
It would probably, well, I don't care about bandwidth. I mean, people make those 10 hours of poop, like fart noise videos
But like
on YouTube.
obviously we would have a server that would be doing the streaming.
Oh yeah, we set up an Amazon instance.
We would not be doing it in our house.
You set up an Amazon instance. You pointed at the S3 bucket that we got,
and I write a little RTMP thing, and it would I'd use the restream.io that I'm already using. We might even have to make separate YouTube and Twitch channels just for this only. You know?
Yeah, we'd probably want to make like the Geek Nights archive.
We'd make a graphic to show in the thing that has like links to actual Geek Nights and info. And then just turn it on.
It'd take like a day's worth of work to make that happen, I think.
And then turn it on. And then we have to make sure that it's still running. We need like a monitoring of some kind. Because I can imagine it failing.
Yeah, I can imagine something like that failing at like the 31-day mark. And like,
we need to go poke at it to make sure it's still good.
It's like running a video room at a modern anime con. The computer's just going. You gotta like peek your head in.
The question is it worth doing? Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I want to now just for the fuck of it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. People seem into it here. Anyway, so in the actual news, in case you didn't listen to our Monday episode on passwords, which you probably should because I actually know 2 different people who had a similar hack happen to them, like recently. This is on the rise. Now, most people seem to be hacking this way to steal Bitcoins. It was notable that they did this to steal...
I hate when people use the word hacking, right? Because hacking... Regardless of how you define hacking, when you say, for example, my account got hacked, that implies in the minds of the average person that some nefarious computer genius with a black screen and green text, worked some magic and typed some magic codes and now has control of your account due to nefarious means, when actually all it means is someone you know or some bot or something figured out your password because your password is ridiculously stupid.
No. None of these situations I'm talking about involved ever getting someone's password. Every case is someone cloning your SIM card and then taking advantage of account recovery to then steal your accounts.
That happens also.
And that happens all the time because...
It's still not black screen, green text, evil genius hacking.
No, it's the fact that T-Mobile and Verizon and all those companies... They'll basically give any hobo off the street your phone. Like, they'll clone your SIM and give it to a hobo with no ID. And that's a big problem because a lot of websites, if you have a phone, you can usually recover, and I'm making air quotes, the account. But anyway, that's happened to 2 people I know in the last week and a half. And it's in both cases it was the SIM card cloning situation, and in both cases it was T-Mo. But I saw another account of a friend that was Verizon. So yeah, but that happened to Anime News Network. So even as of Dateline right now, they still don't have the Anime News Network domain back.
Incompetent IT. They did not take a Geek Night's advice in advance.
The real problem is
Good luck taking over Geek Night's anything. You will not succeed.
I'll bet I could get I bet I could get a cloning your SIM card.
Oh, no. I'm saying you could not you could not move the DNS for frontrecruiter.com, and you could not easily I guess you might have passwords because I might have given them to you. I don't know if your keys are on there.
I'm assuming I don't have passwords, but the good
I mean, it's hosted on Linode, which has real two-factor, so good luck logging in.
And the Amazon stuff is also real two-factor.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we're do not construe what we just said as a challenge, you jerks out there.
I mean, it's not Fort Knox, but we basically do all the normal best practices that I tell everyone to do, and we haven't had a problem.
But anyway, if you tried to go to Anime News Network and you think it's down, you temporarily have to go to animenewsnetwork.cc while they, I assume, sue or whatever to get their real domain back from the people who stole it from them. So, in other news, Scott went to Flamecon, as did Emily, and I biked around all day instead.
I wanted to bike around all day, but went to Flamecon. So
I should have gone to Flamecon.
So Flamecon, if you don't know, is a Comic-Con much like, say, MoCA, right? It's not like New York Comic-Con. However, it's a room full of, it's basically an artist alley, really, right? In one big room in a hotel, one hotel ballroom.
Like SPX or TCAF.
But it also had a gaming room, which was like at the level of, say, an Anime Boston gaming room, only a little more organized and, brightly lit and much more well advertised and patronized. And also, it had a few panel rooms that were heavily scheduled, unlike, say, a MoCA, right? It had full panel schedules for all the days in there. I think it's a 2-day. I'm pretty sure it's 2 days, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
There was no Friday at this con. So we went for just a few hours to walk around and see all the tables because there were many people that I knew who had tables there. There were a few tables with super pro Marvel DC type people. There were serious for real comic publishers there, right, with tables. And the rest were mostly, indie webcomic level people, but none of I didn't see a single booth there. Or usually you go to one of these things and you see the sad booth, and it's wow, it's dude with super sad comics that are really poorly drawn.
Yeah,
not a one of those did I see. Right. The other thing about Flamecon, obviously, if you didn't guess by the name, is that it's a Comic-Con specifically for LGBTQ, et cetera, peoples. Right. That's not to say that every person selling comics there was non-straight.
Yeah, more than it's a focus for the convention.
That is the focus of the convention, its purpose, right? Even though not all of the content is that way, not all the creators are that way, but everyone there is obviously friendly.
Yeah.
In that regards, right? There's no homophobes in the room, not one, right? They would be very, very uncomfortable. That would be like someone with arachnophobia going to the SpiderCon. It wouldn't happen. It's the safest space. And also because of that, right? Compared to, say, a MoCA, just the general atmosphere was way more friendly, way more energetic, way more happening. And obviously, it also, some of the content, a significant percentage of it was obviously, yuri, yaoi, sexy, erotic, etc. in some way. But most of it wasn't. It still wasn't even the majority, right? Was that kind of stuff, and also that stuff is totally awesome anyway.
Yeah, Emily went. She bought a whole bunch of comics and met a bunch of people, and it was sort of an extra power weekend because there was that play event the same weekend.
Yeah, the Play NYC, which is Play NYC is it's a gaming con in New York, which is it's one of them, but it's not. It's the kind where you go to where there's
try a bunch of indie games.
Yeah, there's a ton of indie game developers, all with tables all over the place, showing off their indie games, and not the kind where you can sit around playing board games. The kind we want.
Yeah, the kind that we're gonna make.
Yeah.
But yeah, Flamecon's awesome. The other thing that was awesome, and combined, it meant that a lot of people were in New York last weekend.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're ever in New York, if you want to, if you had to choose between MoCA Fest and Flamecon in New York, I think Flamecon's the better con.
Flamecon, I think, you're getting about as much time spent there, right? It's at a better time of year, right? August is certainly better than April or whatever. It's warmer and nicer.
Yeah, it's super nice out.
The only thing is it's in Brooklyn. So if you're touristing in Manhattan, MoCA is a more convenient location, I guess. But yeah, it's like if I had to choose between the two, at least in their current states, I mean, Mocha's heyday is way better than the current of either two, right? But
Yeah.
Mocha's gone so far downhill and Flamecon exists. So it's like, well, might as well go to the Flamecon. I think Flamecon costs more money, but it doesn't matter because you're getting panel content if you actually stay at Flamecon, which Mocha has very little panel content, not much to speak of at all. Whereas the Flamecon panel content, while I didn't go to any, I could tell from looking at the schedule and being a panel expert type person that it was quite excellent.
Yeah.
And it was in multiple rooms and lasted the whole con. So, it was probably worth going to.
So the only reason I didn't go really was that because all these people were in town for the weekend, Ghosts of Miami, we had the launch party because we launched it. It's live. You can buy Ghosts of Miami.
What is Ghosts of Miami?
It's a visual novel that's imagine visual novels set in like.
But I'm already dating dads. Why would I go to this?
It's
other
more
con?
like Phoenix Wright. It's not just and it's like literally you're a PI in Miami in 1986 and you solve cases Phoenix Wright style. Like, do you go check out the docks or talk to that shady dude? And you're always kind of torn between, on one hand, romancing the various people, and on the other hand, actually solving the case. And there's a lot of endings. There's good stuff there. I have a vested interest in this game succeeding, but also we had a really rockin' after party after Flamecon and the play event at a bar called the Hinterlands in Brooklyn, like way out, like in Flatbush.
In the Hinterlands?
Yeah. But one interesting thing about that bar that was actually pretty cool, we went to it, and we just wanted a quiet place to, like, hang out. And I go in, and it looks like there's a big crowd in the front, and there's a guy with a microphone, and it looks like it's going to be loud. But then we get in, and you know what's going on? Trivia. And you know what's notable about that trivia?
Nerdy.
It was good and nerdy.
There's a lot of nerdy trivias out there. There's in Astoria. There's multiple nerdy trivias.
Yeah, but like the bar, like the Baroness tried to do trivia a few times, and it was the you can just stop trying to make this happen situation. But at this bar, like these people were into this
right,
trivia.
that's the thing, is you can't just have a trivia at a bar. You need to actually create like a trivia community at the bar. And certain bars have it and some don't, right? So it's like if you ask around, people will tell you these are the bars that have the trivia where people come and they already have teams and they already have, the shit going on, right? And then you have to like join a team and be friends with people. The thing is, I'm not into trivia enough to want to do it more than like once in a while.
See, I think I'm not, but then when I was there, like my
Yes.
Quiz Bowl blood came back.
Yeah,
and I was
no,
like,
whenever
oh.
there is a trivia, I'm like, oh, baby. But then it's like I couldn't do a trivia every week. It would get old real fast. And also, I don't drink alcohol. And most of the purpose of the trivia is to get you to go to a bar and drink alcohol.
It depends. So I often, when I did go to trivia, like when I used to do it a lot, I went to trivia at bars during the day.
You never see any bakery trivia, right? It's always bar trivia.
Yeah, but I was like a teenager, and I went to bars during the day where they did trivia, and no one was drinking.
Anyway.
Otherwise, some other news. I found this essay, and I was hanging on to this link for a long time, and I just want to bring it up because Giant Robo.
You into Giant Robo?
Is one of my favorite anime. It's like it's a fantastic, weird show that has a if you think the show is weird,
Overrated.
I think it's underrated.
Well, it says here's the thing: amongst people who don't know about Giant Robo or never heard of it or aren't super anime fans who know about obscure shit, it's underrated. But amongst people who know Giant Robo, it's overrated. They act like it's the god of god animes when it's just all right.
I think it's in the top 10 or 15 though.
Nah.
Because it's so unique, and also
Top 50?
the story of how it got made and why it got made.
Yeah, that's a great story. It doesn't make the anime.
Also, it has one of the best, most operatic soundtracks I have ever seen. Like the score.
No, it doesn't.
What anime has a more motif-driven operatic score?
Evangelion.
I would not call Evangelions operatic. It's a different style.
Escaflowne.
Escaflowne is more symphonic.
I mean, if you're gonna argue about music shit, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But
I'm just saying.
The point is, the soundtrack, whatever, if you want to narrow it to saying it's the best in some specific genre, whatever, right? It's not. Trigun has better.
Giant Robo is one of those few things, much like The Matrix or Star Wars, where if I see any amount of it, I have a desire to just watch the rest of it from that point.
I do not.
So if you're not like Scott and you actually have feelings,
Gundam
you
Seed
should
has a better sound.
read this essay, because this essay I'm going to link to actually does a really good job of capturing what it is that I like so much about Giant Robo.
It was written by some Giant Robo fanboy.
No, this is actually a really well-researched like well-written essay.
Someone who well-researched Giant Robo is a Giant Robo fanboy.
I don't know why you're so weirdly down on Giant Robo.
I'm not weirdly down on it. I'm saying it's not as everyone makes out like it's so amazing. It's only I
think you personally underrate it.
Nah.
I don't know. Giant Robo's real good. And frankly, if you've never seen Giant Robo, if nothing else, just go find the first episode of it and watch it, because it starts in the middle of a train chase and you don't even know who the good guys or the bad guys or anything, and it just escalates from there.
I finished it and I don't know who the good guys or the bad guys or anything.
What? It's really straightforward.
Uh-huh.
What do you think happened?
The bad guys are just too cool, so they seem like good guys to me.
Yeah, well, the Impact is the best good guy, bad guy in all the history of anime, possibly.
No.
So, yeah. And in other minor news, Scott's not watching it for some reason, but I've watched a whole ton of the Little Witch Academia show.
I know I got to pay for Netflix at the right time, you see, because in September, there's going to be some South Park. And then I'm going to pay for Hulu. And once the South Park season ends, then, and if there's nothing to watch on Crunchyroll, then I'll pay for Netflix, right? You see, you don't want to pay for more than one of these things at a time, because then you're just throwing money in a giant pit of fire. Might as well buy lottery tickets. The lottery tonight is like $1 jillion. Still not buying tickets.
I just can't be bothered, so I just pay for Crunchyroll and Netflix, and I just never stop paying for them. Only Hulu do I start and stop based around South Park.
I only pay for the one I'm using at the time. So right now, I'm only paying...
I use Netflix and Hulu equally all the time.
I'm only paying for Crunchyroll right now.
But anyway, Little Witch Academia, if you haven't actually seen like the original OAV
and YouTube Red,
movie,
but I always pay for YouTube Red because I watch YouTube.
See, I don't pay for YouTube Red.
I watch YouTube more than anything. So.
I just use AdBlock for now.
I watch a lot of YouTube on the official YouTube app.
I only watch YouTube on TVs. I never watch it mobile.
I watch it mobile frequently in bed with my iPad.
But usually, in the history of anime, if you have the situation where there's an OAV or a special or a movie that is good or fondly remembered, there might be some people who then take that and make a long, drawn-out, bad TV show version of it.
Read or Die.
Tenchi Muyo. El Hazard versus El Hazard the Wanderers.
Pat Labor TV Season 2.
Yup.
It's not bad, but it's, it's
Little
not as good as, say, Pat Labor OAV or Pat Labor Movie or Pat Labor TV Season 1.
Is the opposite, and I think the reason is, in this case, the TV show is what they wanted to make, but what the specials were was like the minimum viable. Like they had to cram as much as they could into a tiny special, and then they kickstarted a slightly less tiny special, and then the show was, okay, now we're going to make what we actually wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
It is great. Mm-hmm. And every episode just gets better. The animation's great.
How come Studio Trigger was able to get real anime, and they didn't have to kickstart Kill la Kill? They didn't have to kickstart. I guess Inferno Cop doesn't even need the.
They only kickstarted that
that
second special.
Right, but like, why does Little Witch Academia need kickstarting where the other things didn't? I don't know. Whatever.
Well, one,
I'm pretty sure didn't the original Little Witch Academia get kickstarted?
No, I'm pretty sure the original Little Witch Academia was part of that Young Animators project.
I don't remember.
Like it was a like Young Animators training thing, and it was made as sort of like an experimental film.
We'll see.
But anyway,
I don't remember.
The TV show is so great, and if you have fond memories of Maho Tsukaitai,
I do.
This just picks up where that left off.
Tsukaitai better than Giant Robo.
I'd say Maho Tsukaitai, the original show, OAV, nothing after that, is nearly equal to Giant Robo. Though
definitely better than Giant Robo.
Not nearly as deep as Giant Robo.
Mm-hmm.
Giant Robo being as deep as Big O. And Big O
is way better than Giant Robo.
I would say it is not better than Giant Robo.
Way better.
It's not as well animated.
Significantly better.
Nah, I think the problem is I can't talk about why I feel so strongly about these two differences without spoiling the ever-living hell out of Big O. And Big O is spoilable. It's way deeper than you think it is if you haven't seen it all. Mm-hmm. But anyway, if you have Netflix, just watch Little Witch Academia right now. Skip any other anime until you have seen it. It is so
delightful. It probably
delightful.
is the best anime to see at the moment that is like an out now kind of thing.
It's girl-driven Harry Potter with magical delights. Every episode is super unique. I have nothing but praise for the show. It's a anime.
Mm-hmm.
Boop. All right. It looks like in the chat they're all planning what SpiderCon would actually be. Mm-hmm. 8 legs in the programming.
How does a programming have legs? I don't understand.
I don't know. Spiders all the time. SpiderCon.
Yeah.
All right.
It doesn't sound like planning SpiderCon.
They're talking about it. They're talking
What
about
kind of panel are you gonna have? Web design.
Yeah.
You
That
like that?
That was real good.
You like that?
You get a lot of points for that. That was almost as good as Giant Robo.
Panel on web design.
All right. But anyway, things of the day. So many of you know that I, as a kid, was not just a fan of roller coasters like pretty much every kid is, but I was a roller coaster nerd. Like, I know a lot about roller coasters, and I get mad at the design of roller coasters. Case in point, the Hollywood Rocket, there's a reason that roller coaster feels weird, because it was just a naively designed roller coaster, but I digress. So there was a rumor for a while recently, because Cedar Point had, for a while, the tallest and biggest and fastest wooden coaster in the world. Wooden meaning traditional Cyclone-style roller coaster, like flat metal slats.
It has rails just like a train does.
Not even. They're not actually rails like a train. That would be more like a steel coaster. It has slat rails, meaning it's wood with thin, flat pieces of metal that are just laying there, and the cars roll on top of it. Rails, like on a train, have a rounded sort of beveled top, and the wheels actually work very differently. I'm not going to get into all the details of all that and what a steel coaster is, but anyway.
So you could have a roller coaster where the structure of the roller coaster is completely made of wood, all these wooden trusses and wooden.
Yep.
But it still counts as not wooden.
Yep. If you have steel tubes or steel rails that are not slat rails.
I'm talking about wooden track. It's a wooden It's a wooden structure, but the rails look like the subway train rails. That's not a wooden roller coaster.
That would be a steel coaster in most cases. But anyway, the slat coasters are the ones that they're known for a few things. One, they're known for an old-timey feel. They're known for giving you severe headaches if you ride them, and they require insane amounts of maintenance. So Cedar Point had this roller coaster is so long, it's stupid. And they were shut it down. But a bunch of roller coaster nerds snuck into the park and were taking pictures and noticed that the executives of RMC, which is a company that's known for rehabilitating or rebuilding old wooden coasters, were meeting with Cedar Point officials on location. And they finally announced and revealed recently, this video, my thing of the day, is a POV video of the render. This isn't the coaster. It's not done yet. This is clearly a render of some kind of what they're doing with this old wooden coaster. They're turning it into a new kind of coaster called a hybrid coaster, and it's going to be the tallest, fastest one in the world. It's basically using the same old wooden superstructure, but the original coaster is an old Din Corporation coaster. It's like standard wooden coaster. RMC is known for taking that and doing modern stuff. So, you don't like roller coasters? You don't want to ride a roller coaster?
I just like rolling them, but I don't need to hear any of this.
That's the stuff I care about because I'm a nerd.
You go there and you ride. You don't care where they're made. You go to the park, you ride everything.
No, I care about that a lot because if a coaster's not Intamin or B&M, odds are it's not great unless like it's an old
You paid to
coaster.
get into the park. They don't charge you to ride all. They charge you pay one price. You ride as much as you want. So ride everything.
You would be better off going to like Cedar Point and just riding Millennium Force over and over and over again than you would be riding every coaster at some other parks. I'll stand by that statement. What's extra interesting to me, this is just a POV. You watch this, and it's just crazy to watch it when you realize that this is what you could have done with a wooden coaster had this technology existed back when they were making wooden coasters. When I was a kid, I would not have watched this video, though, because one thing that I was always afraid of was roller coaster spoilers.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
But I'm going to give you a spoiler.
I don't even believe in movie spoilers. You definitely know such a thing as roller coaster spoilers. Guess what, guys? It goes up, and then it goes down.
So a big spoiler on this
fast.
one is that wooden coasters do not have inversions. This technology, the kind of hybrid they're making, this wooden coaster goes upside down a bunch of times.
Oh, no.
And the first hill is crazy because it's a 90-degree angle.
You're literally going straight down?
Straight down.
Okay.
So,
For a very brief moment.
Even the tallest coasters are not going down for that long. I mean, but yeah, next year, because I didn't get to go this year, I'm going to go to Cedar Point, and this coaster actually looks like it's going to be really amazing. And I don't mourn that Mean Streak is dead, because Mean Streak literally gave me a splitting headache every time I wrote it in my entire life.
Anyway, all right, now that we're done with Rim's roller coaster fanboy talk, right? So I discovered this.
I thought you were going to say fetish for a second.
Sure, that same thing. I discovered this documentary yesterday, like someone linked to it somewhere. And this is a documentary about something that I hadn't thought about in a long time, which is an old Ruby Spears cartoon that I only saw on Toonami. I didn't see it when it was like, out originally because I was like 0 years old, called Thundar the Barbarian. And the documentary is Lords of Light because Thundar used to always say Lords of Light during the show. Anyway, if you don't know, Thundar the Barbarian is this cartoon that looks super old, like, Hanna-Barbera style, right? It's from the early 80s. But, and the plots of Thundar episodes were not really that great. It was like, oh, there's a bad guy. We got to fight, rescue people, whatever, right? Just really standard stuff. What was amazing about Thundar was that the setting of it was so ridiculous and so awesome and so ahead of its time, right? You basically had this swords and sorcery deal, right? He's a barbarian. His companions are a monster that's a lot like a Wookiee and a magical wizard girl, right? It's sort of like, and they're, but what happened is the Earth, this giant meteor, comet, or asteroid or something, went in between the Earth and the moon, like an enormous one. And
yeah, look at that. That's New York getting volcanoed.
The moon broke in half. And the Earth, had all, its, atmosphere sucked away. And, it was, the end. It was, super apocalypse, right? And now there's sword and sorcery, wizards, and monsters everywhere. But also, there's the old destroyed remnants of the 20th century. But also, there's all kinds of crazy sci-fi space shit all together in this one place. And it's, it was actually, that aspect of it, all the characters and the designs and the backgrounds and all this stuff, they went all out, right? And, I didn't realize that huge names like Jack Kirby and Alex Toth and people, worked on, designing stuff for this show, even though, right, it doesn't look that great. I guess it looked better than some of the other shows at the time.
I mean, look at shows contemporary to this show, and they're all animated about the same level.
Yeah, but it's this show was really something special. In fact, it was ridiculously popular as well. People don't realize that, but it was cut to 2 seasons, mostly because, I guess it was kind of violent, right? It was a Saturday morning cartoon, but it was a little bit too much for the kids with these barbarios and whatnot. Right? So this show is really awesome. And there's a documentary where they interview all the people related to the show that were still alive when they made the documentary. It's only a 20-minute deal, right? And you learn all this stuff about, what the deal is with the show, but really, they don't actually talk about Thundar itself that much because there isn't that much to say about a 2-season show with only a handful of episodes. But they talk about, the state of animation at the time and the way things were and all this other, the techniques and decisions that they made in the studio and all this stuff, some of which I've told you just now. And that stuff is really fascinating and why this is worth 20 minutes of your time. And also, if you're into that, I recommend watching at least 1 or 2 episodes of Thundar the Barbarian because it's actually it's some really awesome stuff there. It's about as worth watching as, say,
I think I saw, just clicking through this video, someone rebuilt a battleship out of wood and was sailing it somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's about as worth it's almost as worth watching as Fist of the North Star, I'd say. Almost.
That's high praise.
Yeah, it's
you should probably watch Giant Robo first.
Thundar the Barbarian is not as good as Giant Robo.
So in the meta moment, the book club book is apparently still Dune.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, it's not. The book club book is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, and I started reading it. I'm already on chapter 3.
I'll probably read it on my way to and from PAX.
Yep. Ever since I decided to replace all of my playing of stupid phone games with reading, I'm reading a lot more. So take that.
Now that I've completely finished literally everything I could read related to the Prince of Nothing universe, now I just gotta wait. I literally know everything that any human could know, other than R. Scott Bakker himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw stuff, and I know, and now I'm gonna read this book. Otherwise,
so far this book living up to the hype already.
There won't be any Geek Nights next week because we're going to be at PAX.
Who knows about Geek Nights the week after?
There won't be any Geek Nights the week after because, one, I don't get home from PAX till like Tuesday.
I
and
don't
two,
get home until Tuesday either.
on Thursday, I'm flying to Salt Lake City and I'll be back like Sunday. So 2 weeks of no Geek Nights.
But keep an eye on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be making, first of all, I'm promising it now so I don't mess it up, right?
Yep.
And Rim's got to cooperate, right? We got to do live stream from PAX with my phone every day. At least one time.
I'm into that.
And then I'm going to bring my camera to PAX, but not only am I recording whatever panel we do, right? I'm going to be making video of like everything all the time. And then hopefully at the end of every day in the hotel room on my iPad, I'm going to try to upload a video. We're even talking starting Thursday before PAX.
I tried to do that
Maybe
once
even
and
Wednesday.
I stopped caring like immediately.
I think I can do it. I'm going to see if I can do it. I've been like at other conventions, like at Kineticon, I did a bunch of videos, like practice, but like I didn't upload any of that.
Remember in the old days, like every
But
con,
like I've practiced enough, now we can do this.
I used to make those like what it's like at PAX videos, and I think PAX West 2012 was the last time I made one of those.
No, we're not gonna do it like that. I want people to see like the itinerary, right? Of like, how we, what goes on in a day, in a full day of PAX.
Yeah, not like a music video montage.
Yeah, not like here is the expo hall, but like, this is our day at PAX, right? Oh, we went to the Pike Place and got this Chinese food. Oh, and then we went to here, we went to the tabletop and we played this game and this game and this game and this game.
Yep. We successfully avoided ordering pizza because I've warned many people, if at any point I say, hey, why don't we just order pizza and have it delivered to tabletop, you have to slap me and remind me that every time we've done that, the pizza has been inedible garbage.
All right, so you need to follow all our YouTube channels and whatnot. You need to keep an eye on also, whichever you prefer, Twitch, YouTube, I'm going to be streaming stuff even when it's not PAX. If Rim's not going to be here, I'm going to be playing games. I'm planning to play West of Loathing. That's the game I got on my queue, right? Because I'm way into that.
I'll try to live stream.
Ever since I saw it at PAX, I want to play it. And
maybe I'll mount my phone on my mountain bike or on my chest and try to live stream myself mountain biking.
Good luck with that. What else should people... Oh, you come to our panel at PAX if you're going to be there.
Yep, on Sunday, September 3rd, 6:30 p.m. in the Hippogriff Theater. It starts with an H, meaning it's in the Hyatt. We're talking about The Rage of the Quitter. Not the generic quitting panel we did before, but specifically the people who quit a game in a fit of butthurt rage. How, why, and what that means.
And lastly, you should come to our forum, which is on our website, frontrecruit.com. Make sure when you apply, you write like a reason in the reason field that implies that you're actually a listener, so I don't reject you. And all the other social media places, Twitter, Facebooks, wherever it is that you do, right? Even Instagram. I'll start using the Geek Nights Instagram also at PAX.
Oh, yeah.
Take that. So I'll probably cross-post to Twitter, though, or maybe even Facebook as well. But anyway, when you go to those places, make sure to communicate with us and tell us, do you think it's a good idea for us to set up some stream of all Geek Nights episodes as one long, never-ending 50-day
And don't just say yes because you know that it'll be a pain in the ass for us to set it up.
Only say yes if you would actually go to it and like use it. Like you would tune into it. If you yourself would tune into that more than once just to see that it was a working thing, then say yes. Otherwise, say no.
Yep. All right. Time for Ducktales. Woo. Ducktales. Yeah, I'll play A Night in the Woods when I get a chance. I've been busy.
I beat that a while ago.
Do you remember anything from it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The memorable parts. Of course, it was false advertising. The game contained more than one night in the woods. I thought it was going to be just one night in the woods, but no, it contained days in the woods. It contained days in the town.
Well, Dream Daddy just says Dream Daddy, but there's actually a bunch of dads.
That's true. But you only one of them's your Dream Daddy. The other ones are just dads.
Arguably, two of them are my Dream Daddy.
You should have seen the Dream Daddy arts at Flamecon. You missed out.
Oh, I imagine that was like the hottest thing there.
I saw Dream Daddy fucking spoiler cosplay at Flamecon.
Whoa.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
All right.
I saw Dream Daddy spoiler cross-play at Flamecon.
Nice. All right. So when I was a kid, I watched the hell out of DuckTales.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Disney Afternoon was some of my favorite cartoons.
So it's weird. It's like, because when I was...
And I already was watching anime by then.
Oh, no. This is one of those things where it's like, you know, when I was a kid, you know, you get home and you watch certain things, right? And there's certain things where it's like, if someone asked you, like, what are you a fan of? I would say something like Thundercats or Voltron, right? Like, I wouldn't think, like, oh, I'm a fan of, like, you know, Goof Troop or whatever, right?
Yep.
But it's like, I watch Goof Troop every fucking day.
Yeah, I
right?
watched DuckTales like every time it was on TV.
I watch DuckTales, Tailspin, every fucking day I watched that shit, right? But I wouldn't think of, like, being a fan of it. It wasn't something that I remembered or something I would set as my desktop wallpaper when I had a computer. It's like, you know, it was gone, it was gone. And people don't know this, even though I've told it before. But basically what happened is the Disney animation team, there was some of the executives there, had the initiative to, like, create original content, right? And this is where the Disney Afternoon came from. It was syndicated to all your local TV networks. Is those executives were pushing things like, you know, DuckTales, Goof Troop, et cetera, et cetera. And why did those things, as great and amazing as they were, Chippendales Rescue Rangers, et cetera, why did they end? Because the executives who pushed that got kicked out. And the new executives couldn't just carry on the successful projects of the previous executives. They had to do their own thing, right? So this was around, like, I guess, sometime, I guess, mid to late 90s, I'm going to guess, where they pushed out those old shows and they put in basically shows based on, you know, the movies. So they had, like, Aladdin the TV show and Timon and Pumbaa the TV show.
Yeah.
And those were not bueno. Those are bad shows compared to Disney Afternoon, which was amazing and incredible. So DuckTales went away at some point because of this. And now, many years later, like 20 plus years later probably, at least, DuckTales is back by the same Disney XD kind of animation team that was doing, like, Gravity Falls stuff before. It's like,
now, what's really important is they have an all-star cast of voice actors. It's like a who's who of storyboarders.
Well, who
and
wouldn't want to
writers.
work on DuckTales, right? Anyone, you know, it's like 20 years is enough for people to become an adult. So those people who are top voice actors now were DuckTales watchers. So if you say, hey, you want to work on DuckTales, they're lining up to audition.
Yep. Now, I pirated basically all of the original DuckTales to watch a little bit to just be ready to compare. And one thing I realized immediately is that despite the fact that I watched hella DuckTales as a kid, I have not seen all of DuckTales by far.
No, there's a lot of episodes of old DuckTales. How many are there? What does the internet say?
I don't even know. I didn't have that Wikipedia up.
But, like, there's a lot.
DuckTales. Woo. Do, 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 do. That song's pretty much been stuck in my head since I was a kid. 100.
100.
So there's half a Sailor Moon's worth of old DuckTales.
I've watched all of Fist of the North Star. I could watch all of DuckTales if I wanted to.
I have all of it. And the new DuckTales, like, we'll talk about it in depth, but if you need the TLDR version, it seems like it's great.
Right. So there's basically on YouTube for free legally, there is the full first episode, which is more than an episode. It's like an intro movie deal. It's like
a two-parter, basically.
Yeah, how long is it? Like 40 minutes to an hour?
Yeah, it's like 2 episodes with a cut in the middle.
Yeah, it's kind of long. And that's
well, because very pointedly.
But to watch more, I think you're going to need Disney XD or Pirate Bay.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I think Disney left Netflix and is making their own streaming service.
That's
right?
going to be my news, like, the next Wednesday show, because there's a lot of shit coming out of that.
That's probably going to be the legal place to watch your DuckTales when it happens. Anyway, so the new DuckTales show is different from the old DuckTales, and in some ways better, and in some ways arguably not better. Who knows? I think. But if you're a person who enjoys a duck, you should probably watch it regardless.
So here's the notable differences offhand. It appears to be cleaving closer to the comics.
It is cleaving much closer to the comics. The true duck, the canon duck stuff comes from Carl Barks. If it's not Carl Barks, it's not canon. But Don Rosa is basically canon. I mean, I'll say it's canon for me, right?
Yeah.
Because Don Rosa stays so close to Barksian facts, he calls them, right, on purpose. So that's like someone intentionally trying to honor the canon. Anything outside of that, including original DuckTales, any kind of weird Disney movies, Donald Duck and Magic Land, all this, that's all non-canon nonsense bullshit, right? Carl Barks comics and Don Rosa comics is canon duck stuff, and this DuckTales actually seems to try to some extent to pull from the Barksian facts,
And
whereas the old DuckTales didn't seem to really give much shits about it at all.
it would like spiritually draw from them, but just go off on its own all the time.
Oh yeah, it really had not much.
And
to
this
do.
also shows in the art style because the backgrounds are more comic booky,
Yep.
and the opening theme
Well, the
is
art
nothing
style-
but comic book backgrounds.
Yes, you can see there are scenes like frames you can pull from this that you can then go to the comic and see the exact
But the
same
character
frame.
styles are a much like modern stylized take that I
It looks a lot like what's that? There's like a newer Mickey Mouse show that's on Disney.
Oh,
XD.
yeah.
It looks a little bit more like that,
But
it's
with
not,
more
It's not
lines.
100% like that, but it's like towards that. Somewhere
it's
in
got more
between-
lines and it's a little less abstract than that style.
Yes, it's somewhere in between old DuckTales and that.
I think it's great though because this leads into the third big difference. Huey, Dewey, and Louie are different characters now.
Yes,
As far as a kid, I literally
and
could
this mostly seemed to focus on Dewey in these two episodes more than the other two.
well, he's the evil one.
Sure.
I think that's just.
I
No,
don't know.
Louis. I lost track already.
It felt to me like Dewey got more focused than the other two.
Yeah,
As if maybe he was more of a main character, or maybe this was just his focus episode.
but in the original one, all the young Ducks were basically just together one character, like Ice Climbers and Smash Brothers.
Exactly.
And they were
I didn't
really,
even know which one was which in the old DuckTales.
Yep, but the new DuckTales clearly, and they didn't like dive into it like this one's like this one's like this. They act differently and they have different personalities and different voices.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the girl duck is going to serve a similar
The
purpose.
girl duck, what's her name?
I already forgot.
Me too.
I don't remember most of the people's names in this show. There's Launchpad.
I
and
only remember their
Scrooge.
names if they were in the old DuckTales.
I remembered Glomgold from the old DuckTales.
Well, let's talk about Glomgold, right? So people don't know this. In the original comics, Glomgold is a Boer from South Africa. They changed it in DuckTales to make him also Scottish, like Scrooge McDuck,
Yep.
because apartheid, and they didn't want to have to whatever. In the new DuckTales, they had the opportunity to make him South African again, and they've clearly put some effort. The people who've making the new DuckTales clearly have read Carl Barks comics and are trying to pay respect to
Webby,
them.
that's her name.
Right, but they still left Glomgold, Flintheart Glomgold, as a Scottish duck and not as a South African duck when they had the opportunity to change it back, and that's slightly bullshit, but not the biggest deal, but also just kind of annoying.
Yeah, but at the same time,
And also, most people won't notice, but I fucking notice.
I don't care that much. Also, it's probably better to just
Well,
not.
I mean, as someone with a shelf full of duck comics, I noticed, right? But
Yeah, but-
most people don't even have one duck comic, let alone a
but
shelf
one, it
full.
lets them just forget about the problems of South African Boers.
Uh-huh.
And two, it lets them be a little more loose in like what time this is actually set in.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely set in like way more like the current 21st century.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay.
His character would make less sense today.
I mean, if you talk about like, it's weird, right? It's like, because the story of Scrooge, like he made all his money in the Yukon, like competing with Flintheart. Well, it's like, oh, well, if he was in the Yukon, then he'd be dead in the 21st century.
Yep. But also the fact that he's the second richest duck in the world and he's also the second richest Scottish duck in the world, it sets up a better like current rivalry without needing backstory to be explained.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty self-evident. And also he's a good mix, the way they portrayed him here, as evil and as incompetent and sometimes competent as he was in the original DuckTales cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, in DuckTales, the villains were a lot more, wacky and sort of like insano bad guys. Flintheart Glomgold isn't really kind of like, he's not like maniacal, right, in the comics.
Yeah,
He's-
and in this show, he's more just like kind of evil and really hates Scrooge.
Yeah.
He's murderous though. He's willing to kill.
Oh, I'm sure, right, whatever. Yeah, what else is there to say about this?
It's very, very important, I think, that not only that they got the original theme song and re-performed it, because that really sets the continuity. That's the kind of thing where if they had used a different song, no one would have let that go.
They also sort of redo the sort of, like origin story. It's
tighter. They immediately like, here's the characters, set it up, go.
It's not an origin story of any of the characters individually.
It's the origin story
It's
of
the
Scrooge
origin story-
resuming his biz.
Right, it's the origin story of DuckTales. Like, okay, well, how did they end up in this situation where all the nephews are always hanging out with Scrooge going on adventures, right? It wasn't always that way. The nephews were living with Donald before.
And it's very artfully done how when you watch the like pilot episodes, they don't play the opening theme until the halfway point when DuckTales properly begins. The first episode is like the prequel, and then the first episode. It's like episodes 0 and 1, and you get the song halfway through. And I got to say, when the song came in, it gave me that tiny little nostalgia chill that I so rarely get from a good reboot.
That's what the point of this is. Yeah. Without the nostalgia, no one's making that.
Also, another big difference, instead of just Donald is away in the Navy, which I think was mostly done in the original because...
But there was a point in the original where Donald was was there again.
Not much, though.
I definitely remember watching DuckTales episodes where Donald Duck was there, and I don't really remember them ever explaining, like, why he wasn't there or why he came back or why he left or anything like that.
I remember as a kid,
There were just some episodes where he was there and some episodes where he wasn't.
As a kid, I didn't know where he was, and I didn't even know he was in the show for a long time. And then there was like a throwaway, like something, he's in the Navy. Like they got a letter from him or something. I was like, oh, okay.
I don't remember that. All I remember was him being there
He was in the Navy.
and not being there sometimes.
He was like just in the Navy.
Okay.
But I feel like the main reason they did that in DuckTales was because his voice does not work for any amount of exposition or significant dialogue. And just getting rid of him made it a lot easier. In the new show, they've toned him down, but not that much.
There was at least one point where I couldn't understand what the fuck he was saying, which I'm like, oh, they did a good job.
Yeah, but now he's going to be in the show, and basically there's just this one character who has a speech impediment.
Right. The one thing, though, I do want to say about the voice acting, right, is obviously all the voices are different. It's not the original voice actors for anything.
Yep, which I think is good.
Which is fine. I got no problem with that. But, and it's like, you know, at first, because I'm used to the old voices, if you're not used to the old voices, it won't matter to you at all. All the voice acting is great, right? But if you're used to the old ones, the weird thing is that I was able to basically, like, as soon as any character talked for the first time, it felt off because my brain was not matching it up, right?
Yep.
But then the second time most of them talked, like, the second time any of the nephews talked, I completely forgot that it was a different voice.
And in fact, now, because I went back and watched an episode of the original DuckTales, those original voices, I cannot deal with them anymore.
Except for the voice of Scrooge himself.
I think it's fine.
I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying personally, I was able to get used to and completely forgot that all the other voices changed.
True.
Except for the Scrooge voice. Every time Scrooge talked, even though there's nothing wrong with the voice acting itself, it's still, I got that feeling like wrong voice alarm every single time he talked because I guess it's different more or different in such a way. I don't know. But like listening to it, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just this alarm in my brain went off like wrong voice with that character design. And it stopped going off for every other character. In fact, it never even went off once for stupid Launchpad. But it went off for Scrooge every single time he talked. And I'm like, all right, please stop going off because I don't hate this voice acting, but it just, my brain was like, it's the wrong voice.
Yeah, for some reason, I got a natural transition. Scrooge just sounded fine. And then I watched the original, he also sounded fine, just a little rougher.
I don't know.
Well, I guess the writing is where it's really different because the dialogue in the old DuckTales from everyone other than the boys and Webb and the girl, like the young ducks, were like fine. But the kids pretty much only ever said, ma, Uncle Donald. Adventure, ma, Uncle Donald. And like the writing was that for those characters actually not that great. The writing in this new show is fantastic. The character interactions and dialogue and all the sort of subtle stuff. I guess the way I describe it is that the beats of the show are much denser and are much more to a modern sensibility and modern quality.
Yeah, the old DuckTales.
There's more jokes. There's more interactions. There's more plot moving quicker. There's less dialogue exposition and more showing.
Nothing in the old DuckTales was, very little was character driven, right? It was all plot driven, right? Yep. They have to go and rescue the thing. They have to get the treasure. Are they going to get it? All the characters were just who they were, and they didn't change or have internal struggles or anything.
This one's clearly every one of these characters is going to have their mini arcs and change.
Every character here you can see has some sort of, you know, thing to get over, so, you know, just like any other modern show has. All the characters.
Like, why did Donald and Scrooge stop adventuring? Like, what happened? And who's that lady?
All right, it's just look at the Gravity Falls that this replaced, right? Effectively, it's on the same TV.
Yeah, I feel like
it's on the same TV channel, and some of the same people are working on it.
And I feel like Webby is just going to be a toned down version of Mabel.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with.
I mean, Webby, first of all, right, is like super badass for some reason, which is totally. It's like, which is great because Everyone else except Scrooge is not super badass.
Yep, Dewey
Right.
is not badass.
All the nephews are super crappy.
Donald's secretly badass.
Donald is secretly badass. Launchpad is accidentally badass. But,
yep. Oh,
but-
the maid clearly is a spy or something.
Yeah, sure. He's not your secretary.
Yeah.
But yeah, also this has less, at least for now, it has less characters than old Ducktales.
I think that's just because the old DuckTales had few characters early on, and they slowly introduced them all.
They kept adding tons and tons of characters, right? So you'd get like Gyro Gear Loose.
I'm sure we'll get him.
Some Gizmo Duck, and there could even be some Darkwing Duck. Who even knows, right? But none of that is here. There wasn't even. You know what? That's the only thing. There wasn't a single goddamn Beagle Boy in this whole fucking thing.
They're in the trailer. They're in the opening theme.
I'm sure they're there, and they're just not in episode 1 or 2.
Of course not. You're not gonna have every villain in every episode. That's literally why the Marvel movies have the thing that it bothers me.
But the thing is, Beagle Boy in DuckTales, the old DuckTales, was the #1 bad guy. The same way that like Mojo Jojo is the #1 bad guy in Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
But in the comics, Flintheart is #1 bad guy. And that is yet another indicator of how they're, caring a lot about those old comics. Whereas if you were just remaking DuckTales and you only saw DuckTales, the TV series, and didn't read any comics, Beagle Boys would be your first guys.
Yeah.
Right?
I did like the villains that were hired by Glomgold. Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of...
They weren't just, faceless, do-nothing, henchmen, right? They made them somewhat interesting.
Which Gravity Falls, had the same thing. Whenever they brought in a side character like that time traveling guy, they always gave him a deal.
Yeah, by giving them like that tiny deal to them, by that just that little bit that they had, like someone was like a super knifey person. It's like just giving them that little bit of story and character and uniqueness gives the opportunity to bring them back. If you ever need to.
The humor is also very dense, and there's a lot of sort of like front of the screen jokes, but there's also a lot of subtle or back of the screen jokes. There's just little things. I think my favorite little bit is when the boys figure out that Scrooge is their uncle, or like related to them. Great. And they jump around in the car, and then there's the roll over the top of the car.
Someone made a GIF of that where they continue to infinite loop of them rolling over the top of the car.
And there's so many just little subtle jokes and interactions.
Like when he hits the gong, and he's like, "No, I won't release the thing unless you hit it through. You've already hit it 3 times."
I laughed out loud numerous times during this.
It's a funny show.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be one of my favorite current animated shows, like bar none.
I don't think partially because the ways to get this, I probably need to pay for the Disney streaming or pirating.
I mean, I
hope see myself not watching every episode as it comes out. I see myself
shotgunning it all later.
Waiting, much like with Gravity Falls, when the seasons ended, it became easy to download a full season.
So, like what I did with Adventure Time and Steven Universe,
this isn't going to be a thing where there's a new episode every week forever. It's going to be a seasonal thing, I imagine.
Yeah, but I think it'll be like they'll keep making seasons for a long time.
I hope they keep making seasons for a long time, but the question is, how many seasons will they make, right?
Yep. But
will they aim for an ending, or will they go for a hopefully continuous, never-end thing like?
So they already confirmed a second full season is paid for.
I assume 2 definitely, right? But I'm asking, is it going to be 2 or is it going to be 10
and
or 20?
They said something to the effect of each season that they do will have an overarching plot and villain.
So they can end at any end of any season.
But 2 will have many sub-arcs within, so it can still be reasonably episodic.
Yeah, but so they're going to try to make it so that if any season ends, they'll have a good ending.
Actually, they implied, from what I read, that the goal there is more to, even if the episodes are all Monster of the Week, which they really want to keep that Monster of the Week for the most part.
You have to be.
They want to be able to, in every Monster of the Week episode, push forward a meta plot of some kind.
The Cowboy Bebop formula.
Yeah, or the Sailor Moon formula.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon is Monster of the Week, but tiny revelation almost every episode.
Oshiokia?
Yeah. But with Adventure Time and Steven Universe, what I've been doing is just buying it on Amazon.
Whoa, how much does it cost?
Ends up being like $15 a season-ish.
How many seasons are there of Steven Universe?
6, the way they break them down, because it's weird how they break them down.
It's $90.
I don't care.
Thing.
The big value.
But the point
for
is,
me,
do they have like literally every episode on there?
Yeah.
So if I pay money on Amazon to buy, I can see even the newest episodes.
Usually, so when an episode airs on TV, like for Adventure Time or Steven Universe, it'll usually be on the Amazon season within like a couple days at most.
So if I buy the current season, they keep adding the new episodes to it as they air, and I don't have to keep paying?
Yes.
Oh, so if I buy the newest season of... If DuckTales were on Amazon, and I were to buy season 1 right now, I'd be able to watch this episode, and as soon as episode 2 came out, like the next day, it would be there. And I would have already paid for it and thus be able to watch it.
That's how I've been watching Adventure Time and Steven Universe.
Oh.
And because it's not a streaming service, the fact it's just there forever in the Amazon account. So I could watch it again or whatever, and that actually is.
They can't take it down because you bought it.
Yeah,
right?
if they take it down, they got to give me my money back because I paid for it.
That's right. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so that's how I'm watching a lot of cartoons. I hope they also just sell this on Amazon at some point, but I don't know if they will.
It's probably going to be the new Disney thing.
Yep.
Disney pulled out of Netflix, and they're setting up their own thing.
Disney's really...
So what you're going to do is once a year for like a month or two when there's nothing else to watch, like in the summer, you're going to pay for the Disney stream and watch all your Disney for the year and then cancel it and then come back again, right? For some more, like, you know, like when the new Pixar movie that you didn't go see in the theater last year gets put up on that system, you're going to pay for it, watch it, turn it off, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't obviously talk a lot about what happened in the episode because just watch it. It's free. Just watch it, and then you're probably going to want to watch the rest of it because the show, it looks like it's going to be really, really great. Like, it is...
Yeah, this is taking over my Gravity Falls slot because Gravity Falls ended.
Yep. I think, based on that first episode, too, I really like Gravity Falls. I think both Steven Universe and Adventure Time are much better shows than Gravity Falls was.
I mean, Adventure Time probably
Definitely.
is. I haven't watched enough Steven Universe, but I wouldn't argue
Steven
against
Universe would be in my top 10 anime if I included it in anime.
I don't know about that. Based on the 3 episodes I've seen.
It's good. You have not got... It's gotten subtle and good. And there's good stuff in Steven Universe. You should watch it all.
I'm sure there is, but
But Adventure Time ekes them all out, partly because it's so long and so utterly experimental and varied, yet still having a relatively contiguous and like self-consistent plot that is building up to a real conclusion as I'm watching the last season. Like, you know, like the Lich stuff, like, is really like... It seems to be resolving why the Lich is a recurring villain in every timeline.
Adventure Time is currently hanging out with my webcomics. As soon as the last very, very extreme, guaranteed, this is the end of Adventure Time is out, I'm going to go back to where I left off and go straight to the end.
When you do that, I might just watch it all again because it's
From
so
the
good.
beginning?
Sure.
From episode 1 of Adventure Time?
Maybe I'll skip season 1.
I don't know.
I could start when the Lich appears.
Well, I mean, if you wanna start from season 1, I could do that too. We could do it together.
But this DuckTales, I feel like, will be definitely better than Gravity Falls and has the potential to be almost as good as the collected run of Adventure Time, but I do not think this format could be better than Adventure Time.
I don't think it's Adventure Time good.
Because Adventure Time, again...
I think it's got too much, even though...
It's got lanes that, like, boundaries that are set by the source material that can make it very good in a narrow realm, but it will not have the opportunity to be as ridiculously, like... fuckery-enabled experimentalism of Adventure Time.
The Disney leash is going to prevent DuckTales from being as good as Adventure Time.
But at the same time, it looks like it's going to be like...
It's going to be as good as it can be.
It is the best-case scenario for a reboot of a Disney afternoon, and my hope against hope is that this means we get a tailspin at some point.
If you like the DuckTales, the new one, or the old one... Go read actual Duck comics, the old ones. What you want to get is we've done an episode on this super long ago.
We did The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck.
The Life of Times of Scrooge McDuck by Don Rosa is your starting point. And from there, if you're into it, you can read any Duck comic, Scrooge or Donald or otherwise, that is written by either Carl Barks or Don Rosa. Those are your 2 names you're going to look for on the byline and read as much of that as you can get. A lot of it is in print and available if you spend money.
All right. I think that's good.